At least we have the T-Birds. Let's talk about it.
Hi, I'm Robert Thomas, and this is Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I'm your host, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the T-Birds because they are now going to be in the second round of the Calder Cup playoffs. We're going to also talk about Holloway. He wants to stay a Blue for a very long time. And RT18 should be the only option for captain. I actually don't want to hear anyone's arguments about any other player because I think it's so irrelevant. And that's how stubborn I am about my opinion, baby. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, I want to wish the Thunderbirds some good luck. We all know I'm an AHL fan. I love AHL. I love the ECHL. I mean, I even like beer league. Not really, but I love hockey. I love hockey in all levels. But what I like most about the AHL are a couple of guys on the T-Birds, especially. Otto Stenberg, Theo, and Mr. Dean. Here's the thing. I know that the T-Birds are a little bit inconsistent and they barely made it into the playoffs, but hey, they did, so shout out to them. Also, I don't think it helped not having Otto and Theo in the lineup as they were with the Blues, but hey, the Blues had to make a push. And I actually think, for what it's worth, them getting this experience after beating the Checkers in Charlotte is honestly something that they're going to be able to take with them next season for the Blues. I think playoff hockey in any sense is super beneficial for the development of the young players. However, you still want to see it in the NHL, right? Because that's the level that all these guys aspire to be on. However, I'll take the AHL. Now, if it was like the ECHL, no, but Kelly Cup is important too, okay? I respect it. I'm just saying that it is what it is. But at the end of the day, something really cool happened. And I want to share this with you because I got the email from the Blues PR team. And I only get emails when it comes to the Blues, not about the T-Birds. And I was like, wait, this is talking about the T-Birds. So let me tell you what is happening. So essentially, the Blues announced today that 101 ESPN will present the live broadcast of the best of five Calder Cup series between the Blues prospects, so the T-Birds against the Providence Bruins. The first game will be Friday, May 1st. I can't believe tomorrow's going to be May at 6:05. And this will, by the way, be in Providence. And I think that this is so cool. And Springfield's Ryan Smith will be on the call. So you will be able to listen to it on the same radio where you listen to the Blues. So 101 ESPN. By the way, Ryan Smith has been involved with the T-Birds for a very long time, since 2016. He's been with the Thunderbirds TV and radio since then, so really cool for him. Also, by the way, somebody that I love, and I know that you love, we all love Mr. Steve Ott. His first season as head coach. And, Springfield, they earned the 6th seed in the Atlantic Division with a 32-32, 6-2 regular season record. Ott took over as head coach in January and guided the T-Birds to a 19-13, 2-0 record to finish the season. And, oh, by the way, and this is where it gets really cool, they were able to claim the final divisional playoff spot And additionally, 5 members of the T-Birds skated for the Blues during the regular season. Otto, Theo, Hugh, Skinner, and Yeah, I was right. Kazmaki. So I was right. I was doing this off of memory. I'm like, Hunter Skinner. I knew for a fact. Hugh McGing, I have to tell you, because I watch like a good amount of AHL, I like him. He just, in my opinion, is an AHL type of guy. But again, I still think Zach Dean one day will be called up. I mean, he's 24 now. This is not about that. This is about the playoffs. And now I'm analyzing. See, this is what happens. I need to try to be more positive. By the way, as I mentioned, they beat the Checkers. It was a best of 3 series. Now, I have to say, like, game 1 was really bad. I think they lost like 8-1. It was atrocious, and they were able to win, which was cool and all. However, at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that this series against Providence goes better. I think that the Providence Bruins, here's the thing, right? And this is just, I know this is a Blues podcast, but hey, playoffs are playoffs. They played each other 12 times during the regular season, with the Bruins winning 5 in regulation and 2 in overtime. And what I have to say is Providence finished 38 points ahead of the T-Birds in the regular season standings. But yeah, I know. But Springfield may be like kind of a team in a sense that is in that underdog mentality. As I stated, um, they barely made it into the playoffs. Okay, like barely made it in. They just made it in. But yet they were able to beat Charlotte, who finished, I think, like 20 something points ahead of them. So, like, literally, this is one of those teams that could just be on a heater right now, honestly. And the thing about the Calder Cup, right? It's that there's kind of this waiting period for teams that finish at the top of the standings. Usually it's the advantage, right? However, the last time the Bruins played was Saturday, April 18th, which is 13 days before they play game 1. So yeah, the T-Birds have the advantage of being able to play more, right? I think what's really important though about this game is the T-Birds winning the first period. In my opinion, you win period 1, you can take the rest of the game. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I genuinely believe that you just need to tire the Providence Bruins out. I think with them, they're such a good team and they have a lot of good prospects, and I'm not denying that by any means. I just think that when you don't play for that long, you're either going to come into the game really amped up or really sloppy. I think it's going to be more so sloppy for Providence. I think the T-Birds in the last 2 games against Charlotte, they actually looked good. They had clean passes, nice hits, and they looked put together. The only problem is that I do think that Providence, it's not even that I think, I know Providence is more skilled. Like, most likely Providence is going to sweep the T-Birds. Like, okay. Look at my negativity. No, but like literally they're going to sweep them. And it's not even just me saying that because I'm not a hater. You know that I'm like the least hater type of person. I just don't see in a world where the T-Birds are able to beat them in this series. Now, do I want them to do that? Absolutely. However, I don't know if that's going to happen. And I think for these young guys, this will be a really good test because in the NHL, let's face it, the Blues are not going to come into next season being one of the best teams. They're not. So this gives them a really good test of what it's like to play competitive hockey against a team that is better than them. So we're going to have a lot to talk about, especially after tomorrow night's contest. I'm excited for it. I'm sure you are as well. I love playoff hockey, and there's actually another hockey team that I cover that's in the NHL playoffs. And last night, I have to share this with you because I genuinely said this out loud. Last night, this game went to overtime. And I look at the media member sitting next to me, and the overtime was kind of running low. So we're kind of getting close to potentially a double OT. And I said, I don't think I can mentally handle another double overtime after the Blues last year. And this person laughed when I said that, but I am being so for real. When it comes to double overtimes going forward, I am forever traumatized by what happened last year. 1.6 seconds, my friends. That's all it took for my heart to break. And people say to me, "Oh my God, Haley, I can't believe you're so invested in hockey." Okay, yeah, because it's like the one thing I care about. Obviously, I'm invested. But the idea of a double overtime, it's really hard. It's a really sensitive topic and subject for me. I think that there's also a lot of people that this is so ridiculous. Like they were watching like the Minnesota and Dallas game like last week that went to double OT, and they were probably just like, "Oh, this is so cool." And then I'm here and I'm just like, I remember it all too well. I really do. I really do. So, again, I know the anniversary is coming up. I'm not looking forward to it because that was traumatizing, but I want to talk to you about something that's not, and that's Dylan Holloway. But I'm going to talk to you about him. I don't know why I am like, listen, double OT, it was a lot. But I will talk to you about that right after this. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the cotton candy 5-hour energy shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is that classic cotton candy taste you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I've always loved cotton candy, but I can't be eating sweets all day. This is the perfect alternative. The flavor really does bring out that throwback flavor, that fruity vanilla vibe, and it's smooth. So bring on the sweetness with cotton candy 5-hour energy shots. Available online now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions of guys deal with it at some point, and that's exactly why HIMS offers a straightforward way to handle it. HIMS connects you with a licensed healthcare provider online, giving you access to legitimate ED treatment options from the comfort of your own home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process that makes it easier to take care of yourself. The whole process is simple. You just complete an online intake and the provider reviews your information. If treatment is right for you, it ships directly to your door in discreet packaging, which makes the whole experience feel private and stress free. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonnhl. That's hims.com/lockedonnhl for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonnhl. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Cinefol is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. I also want to let you know about the Everydayer Club. I love the Everydayer Club, especially if you're an audio listener, because you get to listen to Locked On Blues ad-free for just $5 a month. That is such a steal. On top of that, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Podcasts, you can get it. So you just have, well, not even you can get it. You just automatically go to your app and the ad-free version will be right there. So there's no need for all the commercials. You just get ad-free audio of Locked On Blues. It's that simple. And on top of it, because yes, there is more. I always have surprises, okay? I'm basically like Santa handing out these gifts. Um, you also get invited to an exclusive Discord chat where you can talk amongst each other all things blues, T-Birds, NHL playoffs, and so much more. But let's keep it hockey related. So again, that is lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. Well, we have a guy that we need to talk about. And his name, it's a very good name because it's a name of a player that is going to be here for a long time. Do you notice how I just put that together? That was good. But we're going to be talking about Dylan Holloway. Dylan bleeping Holloway. Now, let me say this. I think Dylan Holloway is one of those players that is going to be a Blue for the rest of his career. I know that's a little bit too early to say. I just have a gut feeling. And that is the direction that I am heading in when it comes to Holloway. So, anyways, it's been nearly now 2 years since that double offer sheet that brought Holloway and Philip Broberg from Edmonton to St. Louis. It was one of the craziest things that went down. Dougie A completely just took over the hockey world yet again, let everybody know who is still the boss man, Doug Armstrong. And that deal, by the way, it ran through the 2025-2026 season, making him an RFA, a restricted free agent this summer. But here's the thing. It's not going to be the same as summer of 2024. Isn't that crazy that it's been 2 years since summer 24? Anyways, though, Holloway said, quote, "It was kind of wild 2 years ago, but obviously I'm very thankful to be a Blue and I want to be a Blue for a long time." And for Dylan Holloway to say that is a huge statement because right now, I know enough agents, right? When it comes not even just to hockey, baseball, football, not really basketball, but I know agents, right? And I know how these things work. A player wouldn't say that if they weren't in contract negotiations, right? And Holloway has 114 points with 48 goals and 66 assists and a 10 game winning goals in his 136 games since joining the Blues. And he's been one of the most impactful players, in my opinion, on the ice. But he's also had to deal with some injuries, right? Which is a little bit concerning in that sense. And I think for Dylan Holloway, he needs to stay healthy. But when he is healthy, he's so impactful. And I think that a lot of people look at him and they're like, oh, well, how can we depend on him because of the injuries? And I think that's just a part of the game, right? I mean, Robert Thomas has dealt with injuries, but yet I don't hear people saying the same thing about him. So for Holloway, I mean, as long as he stays healthy, he will be fine. And it is exciting, right? This whole transition with Doug Armstrong to Steiner and Army. He's still going to be involved, but obviously he's not going to be the main guy now. And for Dylan Holloway, he also said, "I want to be a Blue for a long time, and I'm confident we can get something done." And when I was looking at those quotes from the end of the season pressers, I really had to think about how he said what he said. And I even sent them to some of my agent friends because I was genuinely curious if this was the language you would use if you're dealing with a contract negotiation. And they all said yes. I think with Dylan Holloway, he is going to get between a 4 and a 6 year contract extension. I think that he's going to get 6 to 7 million AAV. I think that he's not going to have a no trade clause. I think that they should not do that. The reason why I say that is, and I appreciate what Doug said after the trade deadline, but when it comes to these no trade clauses, it makes it really difficult to move certain players later in their careers when they're not the player that they used to be. And I think at the end of the day, I can appreciate a couple players having a no trade clause, but I think that it's gotten to the point where too many have it, and it should be something that's more of a rarity rather than just a commonality. So I do expect Holloway to stay. Obviously, I think that they're in negotiations. And I think that it's going to be a nice contract, but I don't think it's going to be anything too insane, too crazy. But I do think anywhere from 4 to 6 years will actually be, in my opinion, the ideal, because you don't want to give anything more than 6, honestly, and you don't want to give anything less than 4 if you do see him here as an important piece going forward. But we'll see. I think contracts, honestly, in my opinion, between 2 and 3 years are a complete joke because that's basically just saying, "Hey, you're on a trial." I think that, and again, that's just my opinion. I think if you actually take a player seriously, like, you have to give them at least 4 or more years, but let me know what you think. That's just always how I've looked at contracts. I don't know. Okay. So coming up next, Robert Thomas should be the only guy that the Blues should be considering as captain. And if you don't think that way, you're wrong and your opinion's incorrect. And I know opinions can't be incorrect, but yours is. So we'll talk about that right after this. Has anybody, by the way, before I begin this ad, really fast, seen that meme? And it's like, that's my opinion. That's the first thing I could think of. Okay. There's nothing like playoff hockey live. The intensity, the crowd, it's just different. And when you're in the building, playoffs are some of the best moments in sports, and being there in person is something every fan should experience. Game Time makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those high demand games, in just a few taps. And with Game Time Guarantee, you know you're getting 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. I was browsing the Game Time app, and one thing that I noticed about the Game Time app is that you can see your seats before you buy the tickets. I think that this is such a good way of curating an app so you know exactly where you're going to be sitting and what that's going to look like for you. I'm only 5'2". So yeah, I'm a little bit short, okay? So sometimes I like to sit higher up so I can see better. So for me, this is a feature that I really love a lot. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKED ON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKED ON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I feel as if I need to say what is on my mind because it's gotten to the point where I genuinely am annoyed by some of you. Not all of you, but some of you that have this opinion. When it comes to who the next captain of the Blues should be, why is anybody thinking it won't be Robert Thomas when it's obviously going to be Robert Thomas? I understand we have opinions. I get it. Jake Neighbors, he's younger, he's a good leader, he's a good player. I get it. I do. I do. You do realize though, if the Blues don't name RT18 as captain, he's going to win out. Like, it is the ultimate disrespect not to name him captain. And I know what you're saying. Oh my God, how about Colton Parayko? They wanted to get rid of Colton Parayko. Why would they name him captain? Robert Thomas is the most talented player on the Blues. And I know what some of you are saying. Haley, this is your Robert Thomas propaganda again. Okay, no, it's not. This is just me spitting facts. Why would you not name him captain? Brady Kachuk. Okay, they're friends. Do you think Brady's going to say, yeah, man, let me come to your team? Well, technically, he was a fan first. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if he's going to be like petty like that. We'll see. But I do think Robert Thomas will be captain. There's going to be repercussions if he's not. And by those repercussions, it means that he won't be on the team. I think that too, besides that and the like what could potentially happen, do you think Jake Neighbors is ready for that responsibility. Now, this is not a diss on Jake Neighbors, but there's been a lot of times where he goes invisible during games. I know. So does Robert Thomas. Okay, Robert Thomas won a Stanley Cup. Here is a blue during his rookie season. So I don't want to hear anything where you're slandering him. Robert Thomas also came back from multiple injuries earlier than he was projected to because of the work that he put in during rehab. Like, this is a guy that genuinely cares about the team. And I'm not saying Jake doesn't. I'm just saying Robert Thomas has put more time in, and sometimes you need to reward that. And it blows my mind how many haters of Robert Thomas there are. I don't think he has a good personality. Are you in the locker room, buddy? Like, I'm just saying, are you there? Do you hear the conversations? Are you up against the glass during the games, hearing the boys talking? Then if you say, well, no, then don't have an opinion on how he is because you don't know how he is. You might be saying, Haley, how do you know how he is? Because I've been in the locker room. I've heard him interact. I've talked to different media members that are always in the locker room. I have a better understanding of how he is. And yeah, they respect the hell out of him. So again, I just hear things. Okay, shut up. That's not, I just don't like the slandering. That's all it comes down to. All right, tomorrow will be a fun Friday episode. And until then, like always, let's go Blues.